mutlaq. We are dependent from in every sense. Okay? Now, next part is very important. Because Allah is Ghani mutlaq, and because the creation is faqir and mumkin, and its very existence it needs Allah, the next step now is, this means Allah is Malik, He owns us and we are His slaves. Allah owns us, He's our Malik and He's our Malik. Allah is our Malik and He's our Malik. And we are His Mamluk, we are His subjects. He owns us. Because we are dependent on Him in everything, in our very own existence, in our birth, in our life, in our death, in our harakah, in our sukun, everything we are in need of Allah. Because of this, Allah owns us. He's our Malik and He's our Malik. What does Malik and Malik mean? Malik means owner. Guys, what does Malik mean? Malik means owner. And Malik means king. In Surah Fatih we have both qiraat. Malik Yawmiddin and Malik Yawm. What's the difference between Malik and Malik? Malik is owner. Malik is king. Malik yani who owns. Allah owns our bodies and our souls. Belongs to Him. What does Malik mean? Ay lahul hukm wal amr. Allah can do whatever He wants with our bodies and souls. He can do yatasarraf fi mulkihi kayfa yasha. Allah can do whatever He wants because He owns us. Guys, are you with me? It's very important what I'm mentioning. And the connection between Malik and Malik for Allah. The connection between Malik and Malik for Allah is what? Talazum. There's an intrinsic connection. Yani, Allah is Malik. Allah owns our bodies and our souls, and because He owns our bodies and our souls, He can do whatever He wants. Again, because Allah owns our body and our souls, and because He owns our body and our souls, He can do whatever He wants. So there's a nisbah of talazum, yani there is a relationship of necessity between Allah being Malik and Malik. And Allah is Malik, and because He's Malik, He's Malik. Do you understand this? When it comes to the creation, there is no talazum. Yani there is no intrinsic or necessary connection between Malik and Malik. Yani, let me give you an example. You are Malik, you own your car. Yes? Can you do whatever you want with your car? Or do you have to follow the law of the land? You don't follow the law of the land? You can't do any tasarruf. You own your house, your property. Yes? You own your house. Can you do whatever you want with your house? Or you need to have planning permission and other permission and other paperwork. Do you see? So you can be a Malik, you can own something, but you are not Malik. Likewise, you can be a Malik, you can be a king. Let's think of an extreme example. Dictator, no parliament, no democracy, no shura, nothing. Dictator. He legislates whatever he wants. But does he own the bodies and souls of the people? No, he doesn't. So Allah is Malik, and because He's Malik, He is what? Malik. And the creation, they're Malik, but they're not Malik. They can be Malik, but they're not Malik. Guys, do you understand this? So let's recap again. Allah's wajibul. This wajibul wujud is one. Because He's wajibul wujud, we are mumkin al wujud. This makes Allah ghani al mutlaq. We are faqir. Because Allah is ghani al mutlaq, we are completely dependent faqir. This makes Allah Malik and Malik. Now this mafhum of Malik, important mafhum from wajibul wujud. And this is clearly established in the Quran. Surah Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin. Likewise, the verses, Lillahi ma fi samawati wal ard, Lillahi man fi samawati wa man fi al ard, Lillahi lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fi al ard. You know, these verses, that for Allah belongs, He owns the heavens and the earth. This has been mentioned approximately 30 times in the Quran. How many times? approximately 30 times in the Quran. And then you have verses like this, وَلِلَّهِ مِيرَاثُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. For Allah is the inheritance of the heaven and the earth. And everything will be left to Him. Why? Because He owns everything. Yes? إِلَيْهِ يُرْجَعُ الْأَمْرُ كُلُّهُ إِلَيْهِ الْمَصِيرُ. And many other verses of the Quran which clearly postulate and clearly establish Allah being a Malik and Malik. You have Surah Mulk. تبارك الذي بيده الملك. Full surah of this. So there are asharat, tens if not hundreds of verses which clearly establish Allah being a Malik and Malik. Now, the question might be, Yasir, well, okay, you've said there's many verses of the Quran, and therefore, because there are many verses of the Quran which clearly establish Allah being Malik and Malik, and therefore this is a fundamental understanding of ilah. You can do that with any sifa. You can get Rahmah and say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and every surah starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and make the argument that Rahman and Rahim is what? A mafhum of wajibul wujud. Do you understand the question? What have we done now? We've argued that Ghani, Mutlaq and Malik and Malik is a fundamental understanding of wajibul wujud. The questioner can say, oh well, you can do that with any sifa. You can get Rahman and Rahim, get all of the verses about mercy, put them in one siyaq, one context, and argue that Rahman and Rahim are the fundamental understanding of wajib wujud. Yes or no? Yes, that's the question. The answer is simple. The answer is, look, there is no doubt that every sifa is connected with wajib al-wujud. There's no doubt. Every sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is connected with wajib al-wujud. However, there's a fundamental difference between Malik and Allah being Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. The connection of Malik and Malik with wajib al-wujud is almost direct. You can't be completely independent and then no own. And you cannot be completely dependent on something and not be a slave. Impossible. It's rash impossible. The connection of wajib al-wujud and Malik is direct. You cannot perceive a God, wajib al-wujud, without Him being Malik and Malik. Whereas Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, yes, it is connected, but it's not direct. You can perceive a God who doesn't show mercy in certain instances. Guys, do you understand this? Yes? This is why the verse of the Quran, قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ تُؤْتِ الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. You know, Malik al-Mulk, subhanAllah, the ulama mentions me ajib. Malik al-Mulk, the owner of mulk. So, if you write this, you can picture this. What is it? Malik al-Mulk, yes? It's supposed to be Malik al-Milk. Because, you know, Malik is from ownership, isn't it? And Mulk is from Malik. Mulk is from Malik. Malik, owner of milk, ownership. And Malik is king of authority, of mulk. Guys, you understand? So the ibara is supposed to be Malik al-Milki, Malik al-Mulki. Malik al-Milk, mudaf li, Malik al-Milk, and then Malik al-Mulk. Have you got this in your head? Maybe if you write it down, you'll picture it. Malik al-Milki, Malik al-Milki, and Malik al-Mulki. So Malik al-Milk, the owner of ownership of Milkiyat, and Malik al-Mulk, the king of authority of Mulk, Hukum. But what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing? He has from Malik, he's omitted the milk, Malik, From the first phrase, Malik al-Milk, the milk has been omitted. And then from the second phrase, Malik al-Mulki, the Malik has been omitted. And Allah has made it one, Malik al-Mulk. Is it confusing for them? No, दूसरा milk नहीं है. No, yeah. The milk that you drink. Yeah? Do you understand this? Because usually it's Malik of milk. Yes? And there's Malik Mulk. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has omitted the mudhaf ilayh in milk and just kept Malik. And from the second phraseology, he omitted the Malik, the mudhaf, and he's made it Malik al-Mulki. Subhanallah. This is a concept called ijaz. Why? Because normally a person they're a Malik. They are Malik of hukm and authority. They don't own authority. You can be a king and you can legislate, but you don't own legislation. But when it comes to owning legislation, this is only for Allah. So Allah said, Malik al-Mulk. Now not only Allah legislates and is the king, but He is also the owner of legislation. So it's a way of sending that message even more stronger. Yes? This is a verse that you can and maybe inshallah look up further. So khulasa is that look, the ilah number one is wajibul wujud. This wajibul wujud is only one. And this wajibul wujud is ghani mutlaq. Because it's ghani mutlaq, it also makes him malik and malik. You understand the difference between malik and malik? It makes us mamluk. You could say this is the fundamental understanding of Allah, of ilah. You could say this is the roof. In a building we have the roof and then you have everything beneath the roof. We could argue that when it comes to ilah, the fundamental understanding is this: wajibul wujud, ghani mutlaq, and malik and malik. And other sifat come under this. But unfortunately, what's happened now? And this is, I'm not going to generalize because it's not correct to generalize, but pedagogically speaking, looking at it from a teaching perspective, some of us teachers and students and tullab and parents, we have incorrectly educated our children and students regarding the understanding of God. Because from a young age, what do we say? Not all of us, again, la u'ammim, okay? Some of us. What do we say? We say, God, Bada Rahman Rahim hai bhai. Hasha, nukhaffif min hadhi sifat. These sifat, they're called sifatul jamal, the beautiful attributes. Allah being merciful, being all forgiving, latif, rahim, accepting du'as. These sifat of jamal. Of course, we are not diminishing or we are not lessening these sifat. La hawla wa la quwwata. That's not the intention. But because we constantly reiterate these sifat jamal, without mentioning these sifat jalal, that Allah is wajib al-wujud, is malik and malik, He can do whatever He wants, la yus'al amma yaf'al, wa hum yus'alun. Yes? Because we don't mention this, what happens? A person, a child, I'm talking about Muslims, they grow up with this understanding of God, that Allah is merciful, only merciful, He's all forgiving, and He accepts du'as. So what happens? When they grow up, they go through some relationship problem, they make dua for a few days, they didn't get accepted, they lose their faith. Yes? Or they're like, why isn't Allah showing mercy now? Allah is merciful, but He'll show mercy according to how He wants, not according to how you want. He's the owner. Yes? He's not subjected to your feelings, and He's not subjected to your demands, no. But because they have this understanding and they make this the fundamental, Allah is Rahman Rahim and is Latif and dua kabul karne wala. Because they have this understanding without the fundamental understanding that listen, Allah owns you. He can do whatever He wants. And if He shows mercy, He shows mercy with His own ownership. This is why, what do we say, guys? We say if Allah puts everybody in Jannah, it's because of His fadl. Yes or no? If He puts everybody in Jahannam, it's still His adl. Why? Why is Allah just if He puts everybody in Jahannam? Why? Because the dhulm by definition is at-ta'addi fi haqqil ghayr, when you violate somebody else's right, when you violate the ownership, the milkiyah, the property, etc. of somebody else. That is inconceivable for Allah because Allah owns everything. Zulm is inconceivable. He cannot do zulm because He owns everything. Do you understand? So when we say the Quranic verse, La yus'al amma yaf'al, that Allah cannot be questioned for what He does, rather we will be questioned. This is not just out of taqleed. We are not blind conformists. We are not servile conformists where we blindly following. No, this is the rational thing to do. The rational, the logical, the sensible thing to do is not to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because He's your Malik and Malik. Do you see? And the rational thing is that a slave does not question the master. Guys, do you understand this? So it's very important that we put this at the forefront. That Allah's wajib al-wujud is Ghani, Mutlaq, Malik and Malik. This is the fundamental understanding of an ilah. Yes, after that, Allah shows mercy when He wants. He might show mercy in dunya, but if He doesn't show mercy in dunya, He'll show in the akhirah. Some people have this problem. If Allah, this tyrant king, why isn't Allah punishing him? His punishment is probably in the akhirah. Or it's probably not now. We don't understand Allah's infinite wisdom. Do you see? Yes? Does everybody understand this so far? Now, just this final point on this, inshallah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being Malik and Malik. There are many things that can be understood from this notion of Malik and Malik. But there's two important things I want you to remember. Guys, are you finding this beneficial, yeah? Are you sure? Inshallah. There's no everybody just, mashallah. You guys are really good people, mashallah. It's very nice, quiet, alhamdulillah. I wish I had students like this in Ellsbury. Shafi, look, watch and learn. Yeah? I'm only messing about. Joke. So there are many things that can be understood from Malik and Malik, but there's two important things that I want you to understand. Because Allah owns us, and this is logically established, there's no doubt in this. Because He owns us, there's two things that manifest. Number one, at-tasarruf al-mutlaq. At-tasarruf al-mutlaq. Yani because Allah owns us, He can do whatever He wants. And in the Quran, if you look at the verse of the Quran where Allah explains that He does this and He does that, and then He will give the reason that because He owns you, that's why He does it. So for example, خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ وَجَعَلَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا وَأَنزَلَ لَكُم مِّنَ الْأَنْعَامِ ثَمَانِيَةَ أَزْوَاجٍ يَخْلُقُكُم فِي بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ خَلْقًا مِّن بَعْدِ خَلْقٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ ثَلَاثٍ ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ لَهُ الْمُلْكُ. Malik al-Mulk is given the reason He's Malik al-Mulk. Then Allah mentioned tasarrufat. تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء بيدك الخير. If you look at the verse of the Quran, it's very clear that the reason Allah brings the day and night, the reason Allah gives life and death, the reason Allah creates you in your mother's womb in three darknesses. Why? Because this is your Rabb. And how does He introduce Himself? Lahul mulk. ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ lahul mulk. So because He owns us, the first thing that is understood from this, that He can do whatever He wants. Nobody can question Him. Nobody can question Allah. Never mind an atheist who goes to toilet 3 times a day. Why did God do this? Who are you? Why did God do this? You see the arrogance sometimes. There was that one atheist who was, he was questioned that if you die and you see God, what are you going to say? He said he will say to God, 5 years old, cancer, why do you give cancer? Why did you're going to question God? Punching well above your weight. You cannot question Allah. And remember I said, not questioning Allah is what? Is the rational thing to do. La yus'al amma yaf'al. Allah is not questioned. We believe in the verse of the Quran, of course, but this is also a rational thing to do, not to question your master. So this is the first thing. And we also have Surah Mulk, which also divulges this notion of tasarruf mutlaq. The second thing which is important, that we understand from Allah being Malik and Malik, which is what? Istihqaq al-ibadah. that Allah deserves our worship. Allah deserves our worship. Yani, because Allah owns our body, and He's our Malik and He's our Malik, He deserves our worship because we are His unmitigated slaves. We are His absolute slaves, pure slaves. This is why, again, in the Quran, Allah has mentioned Jannah and Jahannam, no doubt. We know we have to strive for Jannah, we ask Allah for protection against Jahannam, etc. However, hypothetically speaking, bil faraz wal muhal, if Jannah and Jahannam did not exist, we still have to worship Allah. Why? Because He deserves our worship. This is why some of the Sufiya, you'll find the kalam of Rabi al-Adawiyya, for example, who said, ما عبدتك طمعا في جنتك ولا خوفا من نارك ولكن عبدتك لأنك الله. That, oh Allah, I'm not worshipping because I have hope in Jannah or fear of Jahannam. I'm worshipping because you are my Allah. You know, some people who've got allergy of Sufis and Tasawwuf, they'll object to this ibara, and they'll say, what kind of text is this? Say, look, this is hypothetically speaking. And the other thing is, we find this in the tradition, we find this in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, in the hadith. For example, Prophet ﷺ, Jannah is promised for him, yes. عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا محمود. عَسَىٰ means yaqeen here, like Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhu mentions. Prophet ﷺ has been promised the praiseworthy station. Nobody can enter Jannah until the Prophet ﷺ enters. Jannah is guaranteed. Wa'ad maftuh, open promise. إِنَّا فَتَحْنَا لَكَ فَتْحًا مُبِينًا لِيَغْفِرَ لَكَ اللَّهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ وَيُتِمَّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ وَيَهْدِكَ الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. Verses of the Quran are clear. Yes, wadiha, that the Prophet ﷺ has been promised Jannah, the highest level in Jannah, etc. But even then the Prophet ﷺ would worship so much that the hadith mentions that his وَرَمَتْ قَدَمَاهُ أو كما قال, that his feet would, blessed feet would swell. And he was asked, why do you exert so much? What did he say? أَفَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Allahu Akbar. Shall I not be a grateful servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yani, even though Jannah is promised, but I'm worshipping Allah because He deserves my worship. Do you see? And even in the seerah, the most difficult year of the Prophet ﷺ was the 10th year of Nubuwwah, Amul Huzn, the year of sorrow, when our mother Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha passed away. And his uncle, who passed away, his uncle? Abu Talib. Abu Talib was the one who used to protect him outside, and inside who used to support Prophet ﷺ was Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. Both most closest two people passed away. What did Prophet ﷺ do? He left Makkah to give da'wah to the people of Ta'if. Even in those days, it was the custom of the Arabs that whoever came as a guest, without any question, 3 days, accommodation and food. They didn't do this with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hadith is famous, the narration is famous, na'udhu billah. They pelted him with stones. They got the aradil, the lowest of the lowest people, after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He came back, the hadith is famous, where Prophet ﷺ's blessed sandals were stuck to his feet because of the excessive blood. He couldn't come back in. Just imagine, the grandson of Abdul Muttalib, from a lofty khandan, lofty family. He has to take refuge to come back in. You know, under that tree when he made that dua, what's one of the dua that he made? It's a long dua, but what's one of the phrase which is connected with today's dars? Allahumma in lam yakun bika in lam yakun what's the word? Part of it, if you are not angry with me. Though Allah, if you are not sakhitan alayhi fala ubali. Yes, if you are not angry with me, then fala ubali, I do not care. Subhanallah. After going through all of those difficulties, losing people, family members, yes, own people didn't accept his da'wah. He went to a neighboring place. There was no hospitality, rather they pelted him with stones. After all that, what did he say? That, Ya Allah, the only thing I'm concerned about if you are angry with me. But if you are not angry with me, then I don't care. Why? Because you are my Allah. You can do what you want. You are Malik and you are Malik. Even though the Prophet ﷺ said, your afiyah, I would rather have your afiyah. Yes? Your afiyah is better. It's better for me. Khayrun li is better for me. But subhanallah, after going through all that, he said, I'm totally fine with everything. It's absolutely fine. But the only concern I have is that if you are angry. But if you are not angry, fala ubali, I don't care. We don't even go through 1/100th of what the Prophet ﷺ went through. This also answers the problem of evil. People don't go through anything, and then they have this, they have this emotional relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like a child has. And we do as children. We don't understand our state, who we are and who Allah is. This is why they say, Man arafa nafsuhu arafa rabbahu. Whoever recognizes themselves, they recognize Allah. Meaning, whoever recognizes the dependency and the ihtiyaj and the faqr of themselves, they will recognize the kibriya and independency of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more we recognize that we are completely dependent and in need, the more we will realize Allah is completely independent. And because they have this emotional relationship with Allah, that's why their iman, that they start questioning like this. It's like a child. The father decides to give a child a sweet on Friday, for example. On Friday, the father decides, I'll give you a sweet. First time. Does the father have to give a sweet to the child? No. The father is giving this sweet to the child, complete generosity. Fadl. There's no wujub, no obligation. The child takes the sweet. Next Friday, following Friday, the father gives another sweet. Child takes a sweet again. Third Friday, again. Now it becomes a habit. Every week, what does the father do? Father gives the child a sweet. After 6 months, the father decides to stop his sweet. Is the father doing zulm now? The father didn't have to give the sweet in the first place, but the father decides now to stop his generosity. The child, who is an ignoramus, immature entity, corporeal entity, what does he do? He stands up to the father and says, where's my right? The father saying, what are you talking about? You're right. You didn't deserve this. This is a creation doesn't deserve anything. Allah has given everything. And then when Allah takes a bit away, the creation stands up. Where's God? You see? Because their understanding the mafhum of ilah is wrong. Tamam?